DocTalk is brought to you by Merck Animal Health, the science of healthier animals.
Hey there, folks. Welcome to DocTalk. Dr. Dan Thomson here. We're going to have a great show today. We're going to talk about wintertime ideas and thoughts for your cow herd. And our guest is one of our tried and true favorites today, Dr. Casey Olson. It's been so exciting for me to catch up with him and just see him in person, on screen. Miss him a bunch. So stay tuned after these messages.
As dependable as the sunrise, in dairy parlors, open pastures, on ranches and feed yards across America. A place where reputation is more than a name, where the science of healthier animals is a way of life. It's the responsibility that drives who we are and what we do. Every decision, every day. It's your livelihood and our responsibility.
This segment is brought to you by the Beef Quality Assurance Program and the Kansas Beef Council, improving animal care and beef safety for more than 20 years.
Hey folks, welcome to Doc Talk. Dr. Dan here with Dr. Casey Olson, and we are teleported together from Iowa State and K-State, but spiritually we're always together. Miss Dr. Olson tremendously. What a great friend of mine. But man, we're gonna have fun today. Let's talk about cows and wintertime and just lead us, Dr. Olson.
All right. Well, we got a couple of different things to think about depending on when we calve. You know, if you're a fall calving producer headed into the winter season, you probably already got a baby on the ground. Okay, you're thinking about breeding exposure in November, December, January, and you're thinking about the run up to peak lactation. Well, it's no secret. Okay, peak lactation for all of us is the most nutritionally expensive period of the year. It's something we got to be aware of. Now, you spring calving producers, most of you, in fact, calve in the winter. You got something else to worry about. Okay, 60 days before your herd gets to the first projected calving date, field growth is going to take off logarithmically. So somewhere between 60 and 80% of field growth and all of the nutrient requirements that's associated with uterine expansion, with uterine metabolism, is going to take place during the last 60 days of gestation. It's weird to think about. But if mama cow enters day 220 of gestation with a 10-pound fetus, okay, by the end of the next 60 days, leading up to the day that she calves, she's going to end up with an 80-pound conceptus, an 80-pound calf inside of her. All that happens in just 2 months.
That's amazing to think about, going from a 10-pound fetus to an 80-pound fetus in 2 months, and the demands have to just be tremendous.
Well, it's a fact. You know, in teaching my students beef science, me and Dan used to do this together, folks. in teaching beef science, I mean, that's one of the things I emphasize to the kids, because you start out, again, day 240 or day 220 of pregnancy, you start out feeding a cow. Okay, by day 282 of pregnancy, you're feeding 1 3/4 cows. Protein and energy requirements are each going to jump 25% in that 60-day period. And you're not done yet. Okay, baby hits the ground, mama starts to lactate. You're going to add another, on top of what you've already accrued, you're going to add another approximately 15% in terms of energy requirement. You're going to accrue another 20 or 25% in metabolizing the protein requirements. And folks, if we don't keep up with that, if we don't make sure that we enter late gestation with at least a body condition score 5, and we don't hold on to that body condition score 5 at least through peak lactation, what's coming up next? Okay, the breeding season is just a few short weeks away, and if we stub our toe and lose body condition during those physiologically challenging times, we wind up with open cows. Bummer.
That's a great place to get us to our first break, and just a wealth of information. Folks, we're going to take a break here, and when we come back, more with Dr. Casey Olson from Kansas State University after these messages.
Hey folks, welcome to our Cattle First Minute. I'm Dr. Dan here, and thanks to Boehringer Ingelheim Vet Medica for sponsoring this. When we think about vaccination and vaccinating calves in the fall, or vaccinating your cows in the fall, or summer, or spring, it doesn't matter what time of year, we've got to treat vaccines responsibly. Because if you don't, that modified live vaccine becomes a modified dead vaccine. We want to make sure we keep it out of the sunlight. We want to make sure that we keep it cool. We want to make sure that you don't mix up more vaccine that you're going to utilize than what you would utilize in an hour. And when you do, make sure you put it in that cooler that keeps it dark and keeps it cool. All of these things, understanding that the syringes have to be clean so that these products work well. Putting a vaccine that is not efficacious into an animal means you vaccinate the animal, but you don't immunize the animal. And understanding that there's a difference between immunization and vaccination is important for Cattle First.
When you're in the cattle business, no matter how much it's a business, it still starts with cattle. It's this basic notion that sits at the core of how we approach things at Boehringer Ingelheim. We understand when you put the cattle first, it just naturally leads to doing the right things. If you want to do well in this business, you start by doing right. Take care of the cattle, and they'll take care of you.
ValleyVet.com is your one-stop shop for your every animal need, from prescription meds, vaccines, equipment, and more for the ranch to the show ring. Shop ValleyVet.com for fast shipping and great prices.
Valley Vet Supply.
Some call it a come-from-behind victory, an unlikely win, a reversal of fortune, snatching victory from the jaws of defeat. This is our moment, our victory dance, because we choose confidence. We choose Zuprevo for BRD treatment. Ask your veterinarian to prescribe Zuprevo. Zuprevo is a fast-acting, long-lasting BRD treatment that you can count on to get the job done. Choose confidence. Choose Zuprevo from Merck Animal Health.
This segment is brought to you by the Beef Quality Assurance Program and the Kansas Beef Council, improving animal care and beef safety for more than 20 years.
Welcome back to DocTalk. Dr. Dan Thomson here with Dr. Casey Olson. Dr. Olson is a ruminant nutritionist and a professor at Kansas State University. And Dr. Olson, what is your chair? I ask you this every time.
Walter M. and Francis A. Lewis chair in range livestock nutrition. Sorry, hard to get it all out.
Yeah, well, it's important to acknowledge the people that give us these opportunities. And I know you're very proud to be a part of their heritage as well. Let's talk about different types of systems in the winter and foraging systems and different things to that nature.
Okay, whether you're a spring or a fall calving producer, you're probably going to have a limited set of options that you're going to use as the basis for your winter feeding system. A lot of us, we put cows in confinement. We bring them harvested forage of some kind, and in a lot of cases, that plus maybe a small amount of supplemental concentrate is enough to get us by. I didn't mean to scare anybody with my story about nutrient requirements, but these things are manageable. We just have to be able to evaluate body condition score and to help those females a little bit extra that are thin as we approach late gestation and calving. So we've got the confinement model with harvested forage. We've got another model where possibly there's cool season forages that can be grazed. Also requires minimal supplementation to keep pace with nutrient requirements. And then there's operations like we have just literally covering Kansas, where we're heavily reliant on warm season forages to get us through the winter that have pretty poor nutritional quality, frankly, low in protein, low in energy. So if you are coming from a cool season basis, okay, you need a little bit of protein in that supplement and a significant amount of fiber-based energy, preferably. You know, trying to get the rumen to handle starch and fiber efficiently is not altogether easy to do. So, you know, look for some of those moderate protein, high energy supplements that are based on fiber, things like corn gluten free, distillers grains, wheat middlings, soybean hulls. You know, those things make great wintertime supplements, can augment a grazed cool season diet or a harvested forage diet. So if you're listening and you're dealing with that warm season forage base, you're relying on that to help you get through the winter months, protein supplementation is the key. Okay, additional energy, especially in the form of starch, is probably not the thing that you should be relying on. You need a moderate to high protein concentration supplement that, yes, will deliver some energy. Okay, but it's critical that with a low quality warm season forage that you're getting an average of 1 pound of crude protein into that rumen per day. That doesn't mean you have to feed every day. Okay, but if you know the protein concentration of your supplement, you can prorate that, okay, in 2 or 3 or 4 feeding episodes per week, and then you don't have to bear the cost of feeding, the equipment depreciation and the time when you feed on a less than everyday frequency.
Let's take a break, and when we come back, I'd really like to kind of have you help me understand this, you know, not doing it every day, how we can maybe stretch it out. I think it'd help a lot of the viewers. Folks, thanks for watching Doc Talk. We'll be right back after these messages.
Some call it a come from behind victory, an unlikely win, a reversal of fortune, snatching victory from the jaws of defeat. This is our moment, our victory dance, because we choose confidence. We choose Zuprevo for BRD treatment. Ask your veterinarian to prescribe Zuprevo. Zuprevo is a fast-acting, long-lasting BRD treatment that you can count on to get the job done. Choose confidence. Choose Zuprevo from Merck Animal Health.
ValleyVet.com is your one-stop shop for your every animal need, from prescription meds, vaccines, equipment, and more for the ranch to the show ring. Shop ValleyVet.com for fast shipping and great prices.
Valley Vet Supply.
When you're in the cattle business, no matter how much it's a business, it still starts with cattle. It's this basic notion that sits at the core of how we approach things at Boehringer Ingelheim. We understand when you put the cattle first, it just naturally leads to doing the right things. If you want to do well in this business, you start by doing right. Take care of the cattle, and they'll take care of you.
Just finished a fantastic continuing education wet lab with Dr. Cooper Williams, and he is the most fantastic ultrasonographer on the planet as far as I can tell, and just the hands-on part of this was great. Inspiring to go back and bone up on the anatomy and, you know, learning the structures and finding the structures, so looking forward to that. The whole idea of regenerative medicine is really exciting to me. It's something that, because I live close to Dr. Arava, you know, going through the steps of it and helping develop the PRP kit and the PRF kit, and it's been really fun to see it now, you know, come into play here, and it's just a very exciting field. Stem cells, Corey and I recently did a case of stem cells with PRP, and it's just a really fun and effective treatment option. It's really nice to have that option of regenerative medicine. Enzo Discoveries is really exciting to follow because they are on the edge of it all and making it a reality. These kits that they've produced are so practical, easy to use. I think 2019 is just going to be an amazing year for them, just going to take off and branching into different markets, and it's really one to watch for sure.
This segment is brought to you by the Beef Quality Assurance Program and the Kansas Beef Council, improving animal care and beef safety for more than 20 years.
Hey folks, welcome back to Doc Talk. Dr. Dan Thomson here with my friend, colleague, partner in crime, Dr. Casey Olson. Just so good to see you, Dr. Casey. He's at Kansas State University and just does some wonderful things. Best teacher at Kansas State University, bar none, in my opinion. He would never admit it. He's too humble, but that's the way it is. So anyway, let's talk about that. As we left, you were talking about that, how to kind of understand to do it, not supplement the cows every day, but kind of how to figure that out.
Okay, so let's use an example. Everybody that's watching's heard of soybean meal. Soybean meal is right at about 50% crude protein, and if we need to supply 1 pound of crude protein per cow per day on average, we're talking about 2 pounds. So then we have a choice. Okay, I can deliver 2 pounds of soybean meal per cow 7 days a week. Okay, I have to turn the key on a decent powered piece of machinery to do that. Have to spend my time doing that. But I can take that week's worth of protein, which in this case would be 14 pounds. I can split it into 2 7-pound meals, and I can feed Monday and Thursday. I'll get the same performance response, the same intake response from my warm season forage, better digestibility of that warm season forage, more energy availability from it, and only turn the key twice per week. Every land-grant school in the U.S. literally has replicated research like that.
So Monday, Thursday, and splitting it up. And then if you have a different feed stuff like distillers or something like that, you just figure out what the percent crude protein is, find out your daily pounds per cow per day, and then take it times however many days between.
So let's use the corn gluten feed example. About 20% crude protein takes me 5 pounds per day to hit that protein target. I'm probably not going to be able to feed twice a week just because of bulk, right? It's not going to fit in the cakewalk. It's not going to fit in the feed wagon. But I certainly could do it every other day. Now, in my operation, it costs about 25 cents per cow per day in labor and equipment depreciation just to feed. So with the soybean meal example, I spend 50 cents per cow per week delivering feed. And with the corn gluten feed example, I would probably spend an average of $1 per week to get those cows fed. But if I do it every day, I'm kind of locked in there, right? Seven days times 25 cents.
Yep. And you don't get to stay home and have breakfast. Yep.
I like to look at my cows. I'm probably going to do it every day anyway. Don't necessarily want to take feed with me every time I go. You know, and we see, I think I see behavioral responses to that infrequent feeding. Cows get more aggressive about foraging. They get smarter about how they do it when they know that somebody's not going to come along with a cake truck every single day.
Yeah. Well, I think it makes them work harder to use the natural resources that we bought that land to do anyway. So let's take another break. When we come back, we're going to do a final wrap up with Dr. Casey Olson. You're watching Doc Talk, and we're sure glad you joined us.
When you're in the cattle business, no matter how much it's a business, it still starts with cattle. It's this basic notion that sits at the core of how we approach things at Boehringer Ingelheim. We understand when you put the cattle first, it just naturally leads to doing the right things. If you want to do well in this business, you start by doing right. Take care of the cattle, and they'll take care of you.
ValleyVet.com is your one-stop shop for your every animal need, from prescription meds, vaccines, equipment, and more for the ranch to the show ring. Shop ValleyVet.com for fast shipping and great prices.
Valley Vet Supply.
Some call it a come from behind victory, an unlikely win, a reversal of fortune, snatching victory from the jaws of defeat. This is our moment, our victory dance, because we choose confidence. We choose Zuprevo for BRD treatment. Ask your veterinarian to prescribe Zuprevo. Zuprevo is a fast-acting, long-lasting BRD treatment that you can count on to get the job done. Choose confidence. Choose Zuprevo from Merck Animal Health.
This segment is brought to you by the Beef Quality Assurance Program and the Kansas Beef Council, improving animal care and beef safety for more than 20 years.
Folks, welcome back to Doc Talk. Dr. Dan Thomson here with Dr. Casey Olson. Dr. Olson is a professor. He's a ruminant nutritionist. He's there at the Animal Science Department at Kansas State University. Friend, colleague. He is no stranger to this show, and we're tickled to death to have him back on. Dr. Olson, we've had a great talk about nutrition, protein, energy. What are some other things that these folks need to be thinking about as we head into the calving season?
All right. Well, it's really time to do some planning. For you fall calving producers, you've already worked through most of this stuff, but for you spring calving producers, things to think about. You had a historic scours problem. Okay, now is either the time to plan a calving system where you minimize contact between neonates and their brothers and sisters that are two weeks older, or you've got to put a scours vaccine into those cows, especially if you're calving in confinement now, okay, about 6 weeks out before calving begins. It's a little bit chancy to rely on passive immunity to work on a significant scours problem. So I would challenge all of you listeners that if you've got scours, the best way to get rid of it, okay, or break that cycle of transmission, is to work out a system where you move your heavies away from the calved out cows at 2 week intervals during the calving season. People call it the Sandhills calving system. I'm not sure why. I don't think they invented it. But in 16 years of using that system, I've treated 2 cases of scours. They were mild, and I could take care of it with electrolytes. The other things that we need to be worried about now, get those calving tools together, make sure they're clean, make sure they operate. Don't be surprised when that first calf hits the ground and the first cow needs assistance. Another thing to think about, I believe that all of us should consider an annual leptovibrio booster for all of our breeders. That would be males and females. And we need to get that into them between 6 weeks and a month before calving begins. Nothing breaks a producer's heart like a late-term abortion those diseases can cause.
Well, we've been seeing some cases, and I think it's partly when we slack on vaccinating is when we start. I remember somebody said, "Well, I don't know why I vaccinate for PI3. I've never seen a case of it." And the old boy told me, he said, "Quit vaccinating for it, and you will." And so. Anyway, any words of wisdom to kind of wrap up, Doc?
Well, buddy, it's been great to be with you again. I've missed your company desperately over the last few months, and even though it's virtual, this is better than nothing. I was telling my students this morning that my dad tells the story of having to hide from the polio epidemic after the Second World War. They just didn't go to town for months and weeks. At least we have the advantage during this pandemic of social media, and we can maintain at least a semblance of human contact.
Yeah. Well, miss you. God bless you. Folks, thanks for watching Doc Talk. Remember, always work with your local veterinarian. If you want to know more about what we do, you can find us on the web at www.doctalktv.com. I'm Dr. Dan Thomson here with Dr. Casey Olson, and we'll see you down the road.
Doc Talk is brought to you by Merck Animal Health, the science of healthier animals.
As dependable as the sunrise, in dairy parlors, open pastures, on ranches and feed yards across America. A place where reputation is more than a name, where the science of healthier animals is a way of life. It's the responsibility that drives who we are and what we do. Every decision, every day. It's your livelihood and our responsibility.